Hi there. This video is going to show you how you can deploy a PHP application to a remote server. There are a number of different ways you can deploy an application remotely. We will focus for the majority of this course on a transfer method called FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Maybe, hopefully, later on in the course we'll look at some other ways of deploying a PHP application. So the assumption at this point is that on your box, on your machine, you'll have a virtual machine up and running using Vagrant Up, and you have an application running locally that you want to deploy remotely. So I'll show you my sample application. It looks like this, and you will actually need to create for one of your assignments a page that's very similar to this one. You'll have to create a site that will house all of your assignments along with all of the solutions in a zip file. And naturally you don't have any of them yet, but throughout the quarter you will create those solutions and those zip files. And every week you'll update this site to include the correct link to your assignment along with a zip file that holds all of your code. And each week you will then submit the remote URL to this site. Alright, so this is running locally. If you want, you can steal my layout. I don't have a problem with that, but it would be cooler if you had your own layout that actually looks a lot nicer than what you see here. So anyways, this is running locally. I will open up FileZilla, which is an FTP client. It's installed on the lab computers at school, and you can certainly download it at home. If you do, make sure you install the FileZilla client, not the server, and make sure you install it for the right operating system, naturally. So when you get here, opening up your FileZilla application, it'll look something like this. On the left side, you'll have all of your local files. On the right side, you'll see all of your remote files. We're not connected, so there's nothing going to be on the right side. I personally don't really care for this directory tree here, so I'll get rid of it in a minute, along with this directory tree here. I typically go to View, and I'll get rid of the local directory tree, and I will get rid of the remote directory tree. It makes for a much cleaner interface, and that's just my preference. All right, so we go to File, we hit Site Manager, and this is again one of those things you'll have to set up just once. We'll set up a new site, ict.neit.edu. That's the name of my site. On the right, I make sure I select SFTP for the protocol. And for the host, again, I do ict.neit.edu. Make sure you specify the port 2222. The logon type is normal. The username is your Canvas username, and the password is your Canvas password. All right. Then I click Connect. And now what I'll see is on the left, I'll still have my remote site, and you can browse through to the correct folder on your hard drive, right? Just make sure that you're in that public folder, and I already did that previously. On the right, you'll probably see something that's a lot less involved than what you have here. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you create, if you don't already have one, you create a folder called SE266. That's where your stuff is going to go. So I click SE266 again. I have a bunch of stuff here. This is the index.php file that I showed you earlier. I can right click and I click upload, or I can simply drag and drop, which is what I'm doing right now. I'll get a warning because the file already exists, and I just say overwrite and I click OK. So now index.php is the file that I just copied, and I typically check the date and time on the file to make sure that all of that went well. All right. So the next thing you want to do is view this file in the browser. right? And this is how you do it. You open up your browser, you navigate to http://ict.neit.edu / and this is again your Canvas username / SE266, which is the folder, right? And then index.php, and it'll show up right here. The difference now is this is a remote URL, and this is a URL that you could share with your grandmother or a potential employer. All right, so what we just talked about was taking an application that's running remotely and using FileZilla to upload that application to ict.neit.edu. And this here again is the URL that you will submit weekly when you submit your assignments.